Welcome, everyone. So this time I have another special episode for you in English. Again, since I'm interviewing more and more people abroad. And today I have with me joining Nicolas Cambas, a teacher, a friend, a fellow mind in transpersonal psychology, and someone I've had the luxury of meeting, honor of meeting 2 times, maybe even 3 in Estonia, and actually, 3 times in Estonia, and I think once or twice abroad as well in conferences. So yeah, he is planning to come and visit Estonia this summer in August. We'll go into that, and we have a lot interesting to discuss today. Some of you maybe already know him, but those of you who don't, let's do a little introduction as well. So I know you as I would introduce you as a transpersonal clown or a transpersonal shaman. So that's how I know you, who's really into creativity, play, and the trickster archetype. But maybe you want to go more into details. Hello, Nico.
Hello, Remo. Thanks for having me here. It's also a pleasure for me. Now it's been a while since we were not crossing our paths with the pandemic in the middle and all of that. Yes. When someone asks me what I do, it's one of the biggest conflicts in my life because I suppose the fields that I'm into are not necessarily defined inside of already settled practices. It's I would say I'm an experimentalist to my own joy, and also to my sometimes it works against me, you know. Sometimes you would like to be, or I would like to have something more in some moments, you know, a little bit more normal, but I'm very happy. Let's say that I am someone who is very curious and looking for meaningful and authentic things. I'm very interested in the paradigm shift that we're living since I was 20 years old. And my quest started by exploring art and playfulness and the clown and the journey. And this put me into what now I call the full path, which is a path of not knowing and finding the next step into the unknown every time. I traveled through South America during 7 years clowning. Through that, I got to know shamanism in a direct way with some tribes of the Andes and the Amazon. And during many years, I called myself a clown teacher, and I was giving clown courses based on my practical experience in the streets of South America for many years. But then, you know, my classes were always a little bit weird in the sense that they were not only clowning. There was always an element which was more transcendental. I guess in the beginning, I didn't know that. I was just doing what was coming out of me. But there was like this manifestation from people coming like, it is more than clown. It is something different. It is about life. And through time, and also with the meeting with Europe, with the meeting with Transpersonal Psychology, a lot with the Estonian school and with our schools in Europe, I started to shift the center of my research and started to use clown in a more archetypical way as an element to propulse expansion and evolution, understanding that we're in this paradigm shift. And now I have found, in the moment, I'm happy with a phrase which says that I am a creative and therapeutic facilitator. So I work a lot with groups, and I facilitate spaces where transformation and shift can happen through elements that combine arts and expression and the body and playfulness and the trickster archetype with elements of transpersonal psychology, Jungian psychology, and elements of shamanism. So I have created this international school and program, which is called Camino Creativo. And I've been traveling the last years under this label to Europe and now to North America. And now, once again, I'm coming back to Estonia, which is a place I love. And I think it's going to be like the 7th or 8th time I'm coming to Estonia. So I have like a very beautiful relationship with this part of the world. Yeah.
And Camino Creativo, it means the path of creativity, is it? Or the creative path?
Creative path, it means. And the main idea behind the creative path is that it is a path that is not formulated yet. I don't teach a formula of how you should do things. What I try to share is how can we become open and present to the here and now, and discover in a creative way the next steps, which this path is going to be different for everyone, you know. So it doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a student or younger or older, or like in any area of your life, you can put creativity as a viewpoint, and it's the viewpoint that includes curiosity, the viewpoint that includes research, experimentation as a way to open up your path. And this is what the creative path is about. It's not a formula, it's an experience, it's a process, and it takes different shapes and forms for everyone.
Well, I think one topic we can really go into here is transformation and adaptation as well. I was just working on an essay on the topic of the sacred, and without going too much into it, one of the things I've noticed, as little as I've had experience with the sacred, both personal and in secondhand accounts, well, first of all, it's hard to describe or put it into words, but one of like the few qualities of that experience that people do describe are beauty, you know, the experience of something, or beholding something beautiful, and even something that's really hard to describe or to convey, so beautiful. And another part is truth, that it's, you know, there's this element of knowing that this is true, there's no denying it. And the last one is, I would say, love, or some like unconditional benevolence, or some kind of goodwill that's like universal or basic or essential. And what these qualities do, I would say, they are also like the cornerstones or catalyzers of transformation. And I think this is a big part of art as well, to facilitate or to call forth some kind of impulse towards transformation of towards something that could be. You know, we can't really derive what ought to be from what is. And you also talked about, you know, coming to the present moment and really, you know, facing the reality and with what is present at the moment here, you know, in my life or in my relationships or wherever. And I think this has to do with adaptability. So the second part I went into was that transformation itself. I think in transpersonal psychology, we have taken this concept, this phenomena that's part and parcel of life, that's like universal, I would say, everyday or a seasonal phenomena. You know, we have the depending on where you live, we have our spring, our autumn, winter, summer. There's always change. And for me, more and more, I see transformation as just as change, as adaptation, as cycles, as rhythm, as something that's like part of everyday life, of every yearly life, of the movement of the planets, and our response, you know, against the changes that come with it in life. And of course, we go into ancestral wisdom or wisdom cultures, you know, like you studied in South America. Then these old cultures, through looking at life and you know, changes in nature for a long time enough, they've also constructed these models that there are the same seasons in a human life, you know, throughout the year or throughout the whole life, that there are these stages of development. And more I've started to think about transformation as something that's like totally natural. And where we have problems is when we stop transforming, or when we kind of obstruct or don't want to go along with transformation, when we get stuck, stultified,
Yes.
or rigid. I guess is a good like opposite to creative is rigidity, you know, or not moving. So anyways, I wanted to go into transformation, and one kind of problem I've noticed in transpersonal field is that we have taken this transformation and put it up on a pedestal and said like this is a super like spiritual, religious, mystical thing, when in fact it's part and parcel of life. And we don't have to go into the problem of that, but I see that this might be a little bit distancing for everyday people. You know, everyday people might think, who aren't into psychology and spirituality, might think that, oh, I have to be somehow special, I have to have these abilities, or I have to do these crazy practices, or go live in monasteries, or I don't know, do radical changes in my life, when it's really actually, you know, looking at what life is offering you and being able to respond to that creatively, or as the situation demands, or taking an evolutionary jump, or, you know, evolving or growing, I would say, is even a better word. So yeah, some of my thoughts. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Okay, so transformation, they say the only constant in the universe is change, right? And we live in a paradox as humans, because we are coming from a paradigm that it has taken a lot of time in history, where one of the main attempts was to dominate nature and to control things. To be in control of everything means to try to attain predictability. It means the system was created around the idea of knowing all the variables, being in control, and having everything pre-solved through formulas that you're going to apply, right? So you are educated in a way in which they tell you, life is this is your role, and these are the steps you have to make. And then people go out to life, and we find that it works in a different way, even though we are existing in an artificial matrix, like a kind of bubble with its own rules. This bubble is inside of a higher bubble, which is the universe, which has like these universal constants that you can change, right? So humans, we come from a place of so much disconnection with this higher picture of the universe that we pretend that life is based on the rules that we have in this little matrix bubble, yes, where everything is about control and predictability. So this is one of the main conflicts in the life of human beings, because relationships are not something you can control. Destiny is not something you can control. You were speaking about the sacred experience, and you mentioned love, you mentioned transformation, and you mentioned
Truth and beauty.
Hmm?
Truth and beauty as well.
Truth and beauty, yes. And I would add, to complement what you said, the idea of mystery, which is like a central concept inside of any shamanism. We don't really know what existence is. We don't know what is going to happen. We don't know what is the best thing for us. We don't know what is the best choice. We live in a context of mystery. And in many shamanisms, the source, God, the sacred aspect of existence is called the great mystery. And if you are in a paradigm which calls the sacred aspect of life the great mystery, it means that inside of that paradigm, the idea of not knowing is vital. The idea of not being in control is a way to organize existence. Western world is coming from the opposite side. We try to control nature, we try to control destiny, we try to control relationships, and now we are waking up to understanding that actually we are not in control, and we are not on the top of the pyramid of existence, but we are part of a field which is way bigger than ourselves, and that it includes mystery. And I think that what I try to do with what I share in my teaching is that we can come back to the idea that mystery, chaos, not knowing, not being in control is part of our return to the sacred view of life. For a lot of people, that is not satisfactory because we are educated and grew up in the idea of control. But when we let go control, and when we let go the formulas of what we think we are, what we think we know, is when we start to become closer to the sacred dimension of life. And I think that the paradigm shift that we're going through, it's a lot about letting go what we think we know and starting to train and to experience inhabiting mystery, inhabiting not knowing. And when we can tune into this higher field outside of our matrix, well, life starts to be sacred, because life is sacred, existence is sacred. Everything is like a miracle. We're just too indoctrinated, too confused, too not paying attention. But everything is going on. This change is going on all the time, and it's incredible. It's amazing, like a river, you know.
Yeah, I would even add that, you know, we we can't control, and we aren't really, you know, we don't you know, control our fate. We don't control our relationships, like you said. I would say we don't even control our inner, you know, longings. We don't often even know what's best for us, or what to want, or what we want, or, you know, even our inner, you know, life is so changing and so volatile and so rich. And so in that sense, I really agree. It's we need to develop adaptability to be able to face the change, or you know, weather the storms, or find creative solutions. You know, another example is, well, we don't have to go deep into it, but, you know, AI is here already, and more and more in the coming next few years. And I'm not going to say that people are going to lose their jobs, but I'm going to say that jobs are going to change a lot, just doing a task, a repetitive task for the next like 10 years, 8 hours of your day isn't even going to be sufficient anymore. It's not going to keep you afloat anymore. So it's so funny that we are raised in the system, then we get stuck in the system, then we get used to the system. But then at one point, some of us even protect the system, and understandably, because it gives you your bread, and
Yes.
it has to do with your way of life. So just another day, I saw one conversation, and me and one of my friends, we are also kind of transitioning in our careers and looking more and more into personal branding, building your own business, building your own entrepreneurship career or path, and this also has to do with a lot of change, a lot of adaptability, and I would say even more with play. Like, you're a big advocate of, you have to play around to find new innovations, new products, new services, and see if they are necessary, if they are wanted, if they are accepted. So it requires a sort of a mindset, a very different mindset from working from 9 till 5, but there's wisdom, there's deep wisdom in there. And one of the concepts he posted out was that try to reduce your work hours, your work day, from 8 hours to 2 hours. and I can see it can anger some people. If you are working 9 till 5, you have children to feed, you have your responsibilities, it's almost an insult for someone to say that to you. And that's basically what happened. Someone was like, yeah, it's a good motto for entrepreneurs, but for everyday working class, it's doom. You're dooming us. And then he laughed. He was like, yeah, well, it can be that, or it can also be a motto for everyday work person to do 2 hours of extra work to also build a side business, or to build a business on the side. And yeah, for me, it was just another like kind of glimpse into the like collective psyche, or the spirit of the times we are living in, is that there is this paradigm shift, and there is a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of resistance and fight going on, and we know we have to change or shift, but there's a lot of, which we can also go into, shadow work and deep psychological work that has to happen, sadly, before we can regain the lost innocence of childhood or childlikeness.
So from what you're sharing, the word play, for me, it's very important. Actually, the tour that I'm coming with to Europe and to Estonia in this summer is called Play the Game. And it's based in this Vedic concept, which is called Lila. So Lila means the sacred game of existence. In this very old culture, Vedic culture, existence came to exist through a sacred game. And all these transformations and not knowing and mystery and beauty and chaos of life is part of a cosmic game. And if you think about it, to have this main background idea in a culture, it means that you are looking at life from a very different perspective, because in the paradigm we come from, productivity, it's maybe the motor. It's about doing, it's about conquering, it's about achieving, it's about having, while a paradigm that says the sacred dimension of existence is play. It creates a whole different perspective on life, right? And if we think about playfulness for a moment, playfulness, it's an experimentation that it's not looking for a concrete result. It's about enjoying the ride. Yes, it's about giving more importance to the space between A and B, to the space in between, than to arriving from A to B. Yes, and one of the main elements that I think it's something we need to reshape in ourselves is to pass from a result-oriented view of life into a process-oriented view of life. And in my own research, I have found that playfulness is maybe the greatest training for that. Yes, I have the idea that if we need to facilitate this paradigm transformation, we are in the middle of a world that is ending, and we already know that it doesn't work, but it's still here ruling a lot of things. And a new world is starting, but we don't know exactly what it is about. Yes, and we are like in this gap in the middle, which has elements of chaos. And I have understood in a certain point of my life that we need to assume we are there, not keep on living by default in automatic. Where is this going to take us? It's total chaos. I can't do anything. I'm the victim. But it's more like, what is the climate outside? This is the climate. We're in a huge transformation. Okay, so what is the gear I need to come out to this storm? You know, and this would be translated into, how do I train myself to facilitate in myself this paradigm change? And I have found, and my path has led me to experience that playfulness is a vital element. Yes, and it's one way to train the transition from a result-oriented viewpoint mindset into a process-oriented mindset. And like, I'm not going to necessarily explain why. Take a moment to look at kids playing. Yes, and you will see that everything is happening absolutely in the here and now. And there are many possibilities and roads opening all the time. And there is a absolute trust in exploring through curiosity, whatever direction calls me. And maybe it takes me to a place where it's a dead end, and I just, with all the joy of the world, come back and try it in a different direction. Failure, which is a terrible concept for the paradigm that we come from, it's a mistake, and you failed, and it's wrong, and you lost time, and you lost resources, and it's your guilt. Failure, it's a central element to process-oriented life and to playful life. It's embracing failure. Every time you fail, you learn something, and failure is not something wrong. Failure is part of the creative process. Actually, through failure, you become closer and closer and closer to the essence of your research. So coming back to your friend and the idea of working 2 hours a day, etc. I mean, the more we can give room in our lives to experiment, to listen to our impulses outside of the rules, the more we can play with the things that we're interested in and see what turns out. I think the more we're going to facilitate discovery of new, solid, and serious pathways for our evolution. Yes. And yeah.
I've really started to like and use this metaphor or sculpting and sculpture as a metaphor for learning new skills. Because, well, before, and I guess in the school, we are more learning that, we take a white piece of paper and then we draw something on it. And this is kind of, creativity, or this is learning something or creating something. But I believe that in reality, it's actually the opposite. We are taking, like in sculpting, we take a rock, and then we start to chisel away the unnecessary, taking away bit by bit what's not right or what's not supposed to be there, and then kind of feeling our way into the so-called perfect form or the final form of the thing. And more I like to think in this way about whatever skill set it is learning to play piano. You're also hitting all the wrong notes, like at the beginning, a lot of them, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you finally hit all the right notes and 0 of the wrong notes. Or it's using language or writing or creating a new product. It's the same. You're testing away. You're like trying out all the methods, all the paths, like you said, all the dead ends. And then when you have mapped all of that out, then you can finally, step on the right direction. And life, again, is similar. We are always adjusting this compass. We have a path, we are following it, but at the same time, this end goal or this compass needle is always moving, and it's moving according to our steps. So there's always this adaptability, and we are learning through mistakes, not through success. There's success and then there's learnings. This is also like entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, I like a phrase of Miles Davis, who is like one of the greatest musicians in the history of human life, and he says, in music there are no mistakes, and sometimes I feel that we are still one of the great aspects of the paradigm we're coming from, and that it's melting now, is the idea of what is right and what is wrong, right? Like this manichaeistic idea of light and shadow, black and white, right or wrong. And actually process-oriented existence is not about what's right or wrong. It's about experiencing, feeling, understanding, realizing, modifying, experimenting, discovering. Yes. In Andean shamanism, for example, one of the main aspects is truth doesn't exist. There are no absolute truths. There are just different viewpoints. And for me, this idea of viewpoint is something very central to my practice. From this viewpoint, what I'm seeing looks bad or it's not right. But if I put myself in this another viewpoint, I can understand it a little bit better. It has helped me, for example, to manage my relationships a little bit better. That we have certain expectations, then the other person shows up and they are coming from a different side, and you're like, no, that's wrong because I want this, no, but I want that. And I think we are trained in in getting stuck in unique views of the world, in unique ways of looking at ourselves. It's like we define ourselves. We say, I am Nicolas, and I am like this, and I am not like that. And these are the things I do, and these are the things I don't do. And the people that do these kind of things are not good for me, and the people that think more similar to me are good for me, But being able to deconstruct this idea, like understanding myself more as an evolving mystery and not necessarily being fixed or crystallized into one viewpoint of my existence also helps me to relate with the others. It doesn't look so terrible in my relationship when I get out from my viewpoint, I stand in another position and I look at it from there and I say, actually, you know what? I can empathize with where you're coming from. It's not where I was coming from, but I understand that you can come from there, you know? So these ideas of right or wrong, it's something that it's also programmed in my mind, and I come across it, you know, in different moments. And I try to be very aware when I'm acting from that program and how I can shake. And again, for example, playfulness is something that helps me a lot to shake when I become rigid, because I have a rigid part and because I was trained in all these rigid concepts of the world that we come from. So coming back to the idea of music or the sculptor, inside of that rock, I think there are infinite possible sculptors, or inside of the piano keyboard, there are infinite possible melodies. What is your connection with this here and now, and what is going to be your discovery if you remain open, you know? And I'm pretty sure that there are so many versions of beauty and power that can appear from that rock or that piano when we go beyond the idea of right or wrong, no? And then to close the idea, Miles, who is an amazing musician, said, in music there are no mistakes, you know, and it's even about your presence in the moment. Look, I'm playing the wrong notes, but this moment is perfect because I'm enjoying it, and I am transmitting this enjoyment to you, and that's art. There are no rules in art. There is no good art or bad art, right art or wrong art, right? There is expression, and this expression can cover infinite possibilities of the colors of the human experience, and it connects us with the transcendent aspect of existence as well, through light and shadow, right?
Kind of like jazz music.
Jazz, yeah.
Goes that well. Everyone can be playing their own part, but still find some kind of symbiosis or oh gosh, I've lost the word. What's the
Connection,
synergy? But
synergy,
well, yeah.
I mean, one more example that comes to my mind now. It's like maybe certain music is not good for you to listen in your headphones when you're trying to relax, but it's perfect to throw out of the party that group of people you don't want to see anymore. You know, like depending the viewpoint, everything everything can be perfect in a certain moment. You know.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you have any visions to share, or do you have any outlook on what is the paradigm, or how it looks like, how it feels like, how it tastes like, what we are trying to transition into? I know it's more of a dream rather than we can't know it, but I'm really interested, really curious to know, what have you experienced or envisioned?
Yeah. So maybe the first thing I would say is that it belongs to mystery. What is coming, it belongs to mystery. I don't even try to know what it is about. I understand that the sacredness of letting come what is coming and not knowing it, it's very essential. In my own pedagogy, I practice this idea. I don't know exactly what I'm going to teach. I don't know exactly what is going to happen. I try to facilitate spaces where things can unfold. Yes, I don't know why I am with this scissor in my hand in the moment speaking with you. So for me, the coming paradigm is not something that we have to do. It's something that we have to take ourselves out of the way to let it unfold and to trust in the sacredness and the mystery of existence. And until now, in the paradigm we come from, in the old paradigm, we have been trying to control again the outcome of things. And maybe this paradigm that it's coming was there all the time. It's not like something necessarily new. It's just that the coming paradigm, which is already here, I think it's about retuning into the universal paradigm. You know, when we look at nature and we see everything in the world that we live in the reality we're experiencing, it's connected to the higher source of existence, to the natural forces of the earth, to the cosmic forces of the stars, and there's like a river of existence unfolding in nature. Yes, but we humans, again, we have like created this artificial dome inside of nature where we have changed the rules and we have disconnected ourselves. For me, it's important to understand humans, we don't know where we come from, we don't know who we are, and we don't know where we're going. We don't know what is our mission here. We don't know anything. But so we are so ignorant of these essential things that we try to become very specialized and have control, and we know every little thing about all the worlds we have created, but we don't know the essential things. And I think that the coming paradigm is the melting of these artificial structures that we have been living in for so long, and they include relationships with the others and with ourselves. They include mental paradigms of mental structures. They include our connection with our sacred vehicle, which is our body, to let it be in its full power that we are limiting in many ways. It includes our mission, our actions, our creations, our relationship with everything else that is. So I feel it's the coming paradigm. It has to do with a process of rewildment. It's like coming back to the source of what we are, which doesn't come from a concept. It comes from letting our bodies, letting nature, inner and outer nature, guide us into the liberation from all the artificial rules, concepts, structures, institutions that we have created.
You're an anarchist, Nico.
I'm an anarchist. Yeah, I'm a full-on anarchist. Actually, I want to show you something. This is I found this book now in Canada that I was doing my last tour, and I was so fascinated by these two themes coming together. Look, occult features of anarchism, the relationship of esotericism with the anarchistic movement in history. So this was like the two things that drive me crazy. So coming back to what you asked me, and maybe to close that idea, I think it's a lot about not doing, a lot about like letting go and learning, and allowing ourselves to remain, or training ourselves to remain calm in not knowing, and seeing this deeper version of reality unfold and start to relearn how to flow with existence. Yes, and I think, of course, this impacts everything we know. everything we know. Of the few things that I know about the new paradigm is that it is not about me, it's about we. So the idea that it is in collective, we need to come back to the collective, to the tribe. This is something I work a lot with in my workshops. It is more about unlearning than about learning new things. It's about more about like forgetting things we think we know, and yeah, it's about embracing the mystery. Yeah.
I want to share one vision too. It relates a little bit to the from me to we movement, and it's about creativity. So and I wouldn't say it's my vision. I've heard it in different forms and experienced it in different forms. So one thing I think, if we look at this capitalism and maybe the last few thousand years of development, we have become individualized more now than ever. And well, I'm not even going to go into why. There's technical reasons, there's maybe some like psychological developmental reasons, but one kind of result of that is that in our creativity, there's always this visionary or artist or scientist who has a breakthrough, whether it's in art or science or business or wherever, and then he comes and gives this vision to others, and then we pursue it one way or another. And this has been the way for past maybe 500 years, and even before that with conquerors. I want to unite Europe, I want to unite Asia, I want to unite the whole world, but now I think, or what I would like to see and what I hope to see too, is that instead of one person having a vision, perhaps when our channels our perception is cleaned and cleared, and like you said, when the noise reduces, perhaps we will be able to start to receive visions and inspiration, not on an individual level, but on a collective level. And it doesn't have to be, a local collective. Maybe it's a collective of people around the world, because nowadays, well, look what we are doing, me and you are in Ecuador, right? I'm in Estonia. We're having this, inspiring conversation. And not only me and you, we're also having this inspiring conversation with people who will be listening to this in the future all around the world. It's pretty weird concept. Try to explain that to a tribesman, a few hundred years ago.
Yes.
It's magic. So perhaps this creativity itself will start to decentralize, and people around the world will have maybe visions at the same time, and will be connected in one way or another around this vision, and maybe we'll start to create and make projects, and maybe even create little societies or little villages or companies around these collective visions, collective dreams.
Yes, I think it's happening, Remo. I think it's happening. First of all, because if you observe nature, it works that way. This is called like the new paradigm navigators, and it brings me to this amazing and anarchistic scientist that created the concept of the morphogenetic fields. What's his name? I forgot his name now. But this idea that every species has a field which is a non-local field, and every Rupert Sheldrake. It's his name.
Yes.
So, when someone learns something in a certain place and time, this understanding, this unlocking of this new ability or comprehension goes into the field. Maybe another way to see it is somebody access a field where this understanding is already there, and by accessing opens the access to the rest of the species, right? And I think this is happening more and more, and it happens, for example, maybe internet, it's a step in the development of that, meaning it is also a material, technological thing, but maybe in the evolution of our species, it's part of that evolutive movement. Yes. And what you were saying also brings me to another inspiring being for me, which is Alejandro Jodorowsky. I don't know if you heard about him. So he's a guy that comes from art, and he worked a lot with esotericism and with shamanism, and he created something which is called psychomagic, and he created something which is called psycho-shamanism, etc. He works a lot with the tarot. He's very old now, but still alive. And what he says is that the old paradigm is about the Messiah, which is what you were describing. It's like one messenger that comes with a truth to, enlighten the rest. And we look at him from below, right? But in the new paradigm, the Messiah is collective. So in this new paradigm, there is no more like the chosen one, but it's like we are the chosen ones, all of us. And like we need to enter into this new field one by one. So it's like if you don't do the work, if you don't decide to train, to shift, to clean those things that are stuck, to acknowledge your trauma, to go into your shadow, if you don't do this, it will take more time. But one by one needs to unlock inside of them to enter into the collective Messiah. Yes, and the collective Messiah would be the what brings the novelty, right? Which would be the new paradigm. But the reaching this new paradigm is something that needs to be co-created in a one-by-one basis. Yes. So the outcome is collective, but the process is collective and personal. And it also brings me to the idea of non-local consciousness, right? The idea is that personally, I am a creative person, and I have created concepts, and I create frames and different things, but not necessarily I created them. Maybe working with myself, exposing me to certain experiences, letting go certain indoctrinations I had, and of course, still being in the process of doing that, maybe in certain moments has led me to, let's say, my antenna to tap into certain frequencies from where I could grab certain ideas. They are not necessarily mine. They come to form through me. And I'm now in Ecuador. I was born in Argentina. I was a clown in South America, and you're in Estonia, and someone else is in Siberia. Like, we will give a style which is different according to our cultural background, but the essence of these concepts are in the field. And maybe when we subtleize ourselves to certain extents, our antenna can grab these more subtle frequencies of very pure information. Yes. So, and I think the best thing we can do is to socialize that, right? To put it out there so that it also influences others. It resonates, and then someone else grabbing those ideas transports them into something different, and we are co-creating. Yes. So I think this point you mentioned is essential, and it's definitely a part of the new paradigm we are starting to experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Sheldrake is actually coming to give a little speech on the symposium I mentioned too in July. But yeah, and also this word paradigm might be a little bit, weird or unfamiliar to people. So we can also say a new way of life, a way of living.
A new way of living, of existing. Yeah. Paradigm. Yeah, I think the word paradigm comes from the old paradigm, but we are still, it's still working somehow, but if we go more into the shamanic, earthly based ancestral knowledge, we can speak about existence. Yes. I want to share with you that in all these new openings that are going on in the world, and a lot of emergence of South American shamanism, like starting to be like one of the main guidelines for people's transformation, there's a lot of use of the word Pachamama. You must have listened to the word Pachamama, right? And it is often confused, this word. It is understood that Pachamama is Mother Earth, yes, but actually it is not. In the Andean cosmovision, the word Pachamama means Mother Space Time. So it's not speaking about the Earth, which it's a being, which is like a subject. It has a soul. It has a personality, and it's called Alpamama, is the name of the earth in Andean, in Quechua. Yes, it's the personal name of the earth, of this goddess earth. But the word Pachamama, it's, if you think Mother Space Time, it's speaking about reality, right? It's speaking about this dimension of reality that we are experiencing, which is based in space and time. So, and also what it's saying is that space and time realm, it's a mama. It's not a papa. Let's say reality. Reality is feminine. Reality, it's a goddess. Yes, it's a.
That's where the matrix comes as well.
The matrix would be
matter.
Yes, and matrix, but matrix has this idea of being manipulated, right? From matter to matrix. It's more sharp, It's like an artificial construction inside of the realm of space and time, mama.
Yeah. How much time you got? It's getting interesting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for today we can start going into a closure. After this I will move on. I have a patient that I'm going to work with, and I was thinking about sharing with the people of Estonia about some things of the upcoming tour, if it's okay for you.
Yes, of course.
And maybe, if with these things opening, we could think of meeting also some other time and keep on deepening into other subjects of interest.
Yes, I would love that, especially when you are also here in Estonia. Then
yes, so I will be coming to Estonia in the beginning of August, and I'm going to make a retreat from 2 to 6 of August that has the first 2 steps of Camino Creativo, which is the program I created through my research. So the first step is called Unlearn to Be, and it's a training to embody the unknown and use creativity as a source to travel through not knowing and discovering novelty. And it has a background related to the trickster archetype, which is the part of our psyche which breaks reality, breaks structures, and opens up new possibilities. And it does it in a playful and anarchistic way. Yes, it's a part that is inside of ourselves, which in my viewpoint, it's very essential for these times of transformation. So there's like an activation and an integration of conscious integration of this archetype as a tool to navigate these times of transformation and like stop suffering with chaos, stop suffering with transformation. It's going to become more chaotic and more changing. So it's about let's get better tools to serve that instead of die of stress, resisting to the change that it's coming anyway and it's here. So that's the step 1. And the step 2 is called Harmony in Shadows. And it's shadow work, and it's about acknowledging trauma, and it's about acknowledging the parts of ourselves that we have canceled through culture, through family, and being able to go there inside with the support of the collective in a very therapeutic context that has creative elements and that uses games as ways to go into this field. And these 2 steps, the trickster and creativity and the shadow part, they come together in a 5-day retreat. It's the first time that I'm going to do it this way in Europe, because I'm very interested in creating communities. In people, when they go through this work and they spend days together and they don't go back to their place, and we eat together and we make fire, we're going to go to sauna, all these kind of things. From the workshops, a lot of relationships have come, like relationships of creativity, of love, of friendship, of all kinds of things. So because coming back to the community is one of the main understandings, I decided to make like these retreats in this way and bring levels 1 and 2 together in this 5-day thing. In Estonia, it's going to be from 2 to 6 of August. And I become promotional now, where we have early birds until the 25th of June. We also have something which I call the emergent tickets, which are for people who are in trouble, for people who are going through a difficult moment and maybe financially they can't make it, but they would need the work. So I created this possibility. We have for every retreat, I'm going to be also in Romania, in Estonia, in Croatia. We have like these 5 emergent places. Then we have the early birds, and then we have the regular tickets after the 25th of June. So you still have like 18 days to get the early birds. And it's going to be in, I think it's called Raplama, is it called? Sometimes I get lost with the Estonian names. So we have found like this beautiful place from the group of people that organize the Acrofest Estonia every year. So we're going to do it in that beautiful land that I have visited before. And in the moment we are inviting anyone who wants to shift, get new tools, release, get to know more themselves, get in touch with other people in a deeper way. This is the invitation in the moment, 2 to 6 of August.
Yes, everyone, I definitely urge you to get part of Nico. As much as I've had a chance to be in his workshops. They have all been amazing, fun, exhilarating, inspiring, and transforming. Definitely. And I love this aspect you bring into this, the community aspect, because I wanted to ask you before too that, what allows us to be creative, or what allows us to go back into this playfulness, and what allows us to live it. And I think probably one of the more important answers is community, or having people who you can play and experiment with.
Yes, indeed, that's one. And I would mention that there is something before that, which is the kind of field you create, or vessel, or container, or frame. What are, let's say, the walls of this frame? What are the rules? I don't call them rules. In society, we have rules and laws. We need contention and we need structure, but I work with structures that privilege the present moment, that privilege the here and now more than the rule. Yes. So the paradigm we come from is the idea that the rule is more important than the present moment. I don't care how you feel. You have to fulfill this rule. And the way that I use to step into novelty, it's about containers that facilitate the present moment. So you have both parts. It's not only about improvisation and not knowing, and there are no rules, and it's all a chaos. It's more like containers that facilitate creativity. Yes. And in evolutionary biology theory, what makes us more neotenic, more expansive, creative, curious, and evolutive as a species in humans can be supported by the ambience, by what is surrounding us, and the permission it gives us to explore and experiment, or the other part, what it bans us from doing, what it stops us from doing. So all these workshops happen in a field which is contained, and it's supportive, and it's also therapeutic, and at the same time facilitate you stepping into a territory of allowing yourself to experience yourself from another angles. Yes. So this is the idea.
Yeah, one last idea I want to drop in here, talking about evolution, that we have also been taught in school. Perhaps it has changed now, that but at least in my time still, we were taught that it's the fastest sperm who wins, who gets to be incarnated. That's actually now scientifically proven to be totally false. It's not one sperm that gets to the egg. There's actually many sperm who get to the egg, but the egg will choose which sperm or which genetic material she lets inside her, and this for me is again not so much like this resultant success and victory oriented thinking, but rather what is the environment, and I'm thinking that maybe the egg through the woman kind of is in touch with the reality and with the environment, and through that the needs of the environment or the conditions of the environment, the climate, let's say, of the society or the environment, chooses which kind of genetic material is needed to thrive or to be successful, both for the organism itself and also for the environment or for the species to adapt to the conditions and to the changes and transformation of
yes, and also this idea or fact that I have heard lately also, I think it speaks a very important truth of life. Men propose, but women choose. They are actually in charge, and And, you know, acknowledging this, I think it's also stepping into the new paradigm, you know, allowing this feminine element to guide more with this more rooted and heart-based presence, you know, that I think men, we need a lot. Maybe to finish my part, I want to add to what you said that I want to share something that is very present for me in my personal therapeutic process in the moment, and it's this vision that men, we need to embrace the great goddess in our hearts. We need to open a space. I mean, the great goddess is in our hearts, but we need to clean the space so the great goddess, the feminine principle of existence, can start speaking, dancing, moaning, expressing inside of ourselves. We've been looking for too long this feminine part that we felt we didn't have in woman, you know. Something like, give me this love that I don't see in myself. Give me this tenderness. Give me this sweetness. Give me this sensuality.
Vitality.
Yes, this vitality, this creativity, this beauty. Well, we could go on and on, but this perfection, this. But the point is, it's time that we can recognize that element in ourselves from within, and I feel that this can have
a woman,
the goddess, you know, the goddess, it's inside of ourselves, but opening ourselves to receive her consciously. I think this can bring a lot of transformation and evolution to our human game that we're playing. Yeah, and this is what I wanted also to share and give you thanks for this space.
Thank you, Nico.
It has been like an interesting and profound conversation, and we keep on going. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very so much. Yeah, thank you, Remo. Yes, and I send love and kisses to the people in Estonia, which is one of, genuinely speaking, and the people who know me there knows it, it's one of the special places on earth for me. I feel it's a place where since the first time I've been there, I have felt all kinds of synchronicities and power being there. It's like myself relates very good with this place and these people. So I'm very looking forward to visiting you again.
Can't wait to have you again, Nico. I hope I will be in Estonia to be there as well, and well, I'll try to make it happen so we can see it too.
Yeah, you know that, for example, you came to the step 1 of Camino Creativo. We did one before the pandemic, and then everything went down. So people like you could choose also to step from the second level, like after 2 days of retreat, you could jump in. I mean, you could also choose to do it from the beginning and have the whole trip. But if some people, let's say, want to pay a little less money, only pay for the second level if they did the first one, they are invited to join. It's going to be in the day 4 of August, 4, 5, 6. So that's also an invitation for there's a lot of people that went to Camino Creativo and to other workshops. So you're also invited to join in that way.
Yeah, we missed you. We missed you a lot, and we even had some meetings together, some improvisational, body work, and it was good fun, Nico.
I remember. It was very, beautiful when I heard about that. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Okay, Remo, thank you very much. Thank you
Again.
for this space and presence.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All the best.
see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. Bye-bye.